Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is episode number 21. 21, season 2, episode 3. We are talking today to Abbey MacDonald, my dearest friend, and also my manager, talent manager, you guys, not my apartment manager. She is the great mastermind behind so many of the incredible choices and directions that we have made in my career. And she also is now running a network, which is really exciting. And so we're going to get a lot of feedback. What does a really great manager look like? What insights does a network exec have for you as far as the decisions they make and why they make those decisions? So if you are a person who has not yet listened to any of the podcasts where they interview showrunners, writers, directors, things like that, this is going to be a really, really powerful episode for you. We talk a lot about the behind the scenes. She was in talent for a long time, and then she went into the other side. So she really is coming at it from all angles, and part of what makes her so great is she has a ton of respect and empathy for the talent, and I think you're really going to love this episode. So enjoy. I just want to thank everyone who keeps writing reviews and sharing. What's so great about the sharing, you guys, is it's like, don't you want this podcast to reach as many friends as possible, as many lost, lonely, sad, devastated actors as possible, wandering across the desert, wondering how on earth they're ever going to have a career? Well, share this podcast. And remember, it usually takes about 3 times the advertising rules for people to actually check something out. So don't tell them once, don't tell them twice, tell them 3 times, and make sure that they listen. If you are somewhere where you are safe right now, just get on your phone, send a link to the Audrey Helps Actors podcast, and send it to people that you know and love, and be like, hey, I think you need this. It's so helpful. All right, you guys, I hope you're on your way to an audition.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is
Abbey MacDonald.
Woo woo!
Sorry, your face was classic. Hi.
Hi. So Abbey and I have so much to discuss today. Abbey is my manager and has been for a long time, and my dearest, deepest friend. Let's take this spoon out of the cup for sound.
You don't like that stirring? It's very get out. Sorry.
Get out. I think that's better. So Abbey is my manager, has been for several years, and also one of my deepest, dearest friends. We were actually friends before we started working together.
We were.
That's right.
That's why I was trepidatious to ask if we wanted to work together.
That's exactly what happened. We'll tell the whole story, but Today we're going to talk about representation. She has been a manager for a long time. You used to be in the music industry, actually.
I did.
And so you know what it's like to be the talent. Mm-hmm. And now you have switched over several years ago to being a manager. And recently you have switched over into producing. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of producing, and you find scripts. You are part of the casting process. You're also in the editing room. So you've sort of transverse, is that the word?
Sure, I'll take it.
Why not? Into, I think, a really valuable commodity, I have to say, because you understand all sides of this game, which I think makes you very unique.
Thank you. I think it's advantageous, especially from being an artist and to representing clients and then seeing it on the other side. You can give a very well-rounded answer in regard to why they didn't get the part, or how the state of the industry is moving, or how decisions are made.
Right.
It's not completely on one thing. There are so many factors, which I think a lot of actors who are amazingly talented who left, if they just knew all the ancillary stuff.
Yes.
And that they were to give themselves time. Actually, not give themselves time, just know they're in it. And as long as they're doing their job, it'll come to fruition. Yeah, it's just, there's so many things. It's like,
over time,
I mean, we'll get to it. But.
Ups and downs throughout the whole time, but think of it like a career as opposed to like an explosion that happens right away and suddenly you maintain that for the rest of your life.
Right.
So let's talk first about you experiencing the talent side. Right. What do you feel like as a person who used to be on the talent side of things that you now know as a manager, communications that maybe could have been helpful to you,
Right.
communications that maybe you should have or could have understood that would have maybe made the process from the talent side less emotional, less painful, maybe more understandable.
Got it. Well, the one thing that I learned was 24 hours to an actor is the equivalent of a week to an executive or a manager or an agent. Because they'll ask you a question, and the next day, like, have you heard anything? So I realize if you overly communicate with your client and they know what's going on, it gives them a little bit of easiness. They can do what they need to do as far as their side of things. But
They feel like they're being taken care of. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, for instance, when I sign a client, I know a lot of managers don't think this way, but I'm in charge of their livelihood.
Yes.
So, in theory, the client is the CEO, the manager is the COO, the agent is the CFO. Now, an agent, to kind of separate the two, I kind of work like an agent because I like getting the jobs, but an agent, their job specifically is just to get the job. And the way to justify their job is they have to bring in a certain amount of money per year to cover their costs and all that and get bonuses, etc.
Great.
So client, CEO, remember
Yes.
that. A lot of actors tend to think that they work for their agents and managers.
Right.
I like to say I work with them.
Yes.
Working for always gives somebody power, and this is a collaborative experience
Yes.
because especially now, it takes a fucking village
It does.
to get stuff done.
And I would just say to everyone too about that if you have this apologetic behavior with your manager in particular, just check that relationship.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's
and
the operative word, relationship.
yeah, it is a relationship. It's a partnership, just like you said.
Yeah.
And we've talked before about, careers go in flux, and actors are always thinking about their careers going in flux, but your manager's career goes in flux. Your agent's careers go in flux.
Correct.
People have good years and bad years on all sides.
Right.
And so maybe there's a year where you're really bringing in the money and really being a big support system to your rep. But then there's going to be years where their reputation is really pulling you along.
Right.
Right.
So basically, there's, CEO, CFO, CEO, right?
Right.
When you are first getting into this business, first you need to know, I know you're an individual, you're special.
Yes.
You need to have someone that's an archetype that you want to emulate their career.
A way in. We talk about this all the time on this podcast. If any of you are fans of like reality competition shows, things like that, to just take it out of the actor realm for a second so that you have like an easy way to digest it. If you think of like Project Runway, they talk about like a strong point of view from a designer. And some designers can design everything, and some designers design the one thing really well over and over again. And what you think of when you exit drama school is, I should be able to do everything. And what you get out here and discover is they really actually want to know the one thing they can rely on you heavily for over and over and over again, because then they start thinking about you for those rooms.
The reason I bring that up is so you know whose career you want to emulate. When you go to your manager, in theory,
Yes.
your manager should never change. That's in
right.
theory. And that's a very big theory nowadays.
Yeah. Yes.
You need to give your manager a blueprint for what you want to have happen, and then they can decorate the house, right? And then kind of strategize. So, like, for instance, when you and I sat down, it was one of those things where I'm like, well, shit, like, you're a comedic actress, but you can actually do drama. But the best way, how do we navigate that?
Right.
So it was like,
and we've also found that along the way.
well, and we also said like it was like Kristen Wiig, right?
Yes, right.
She was comedy, then she's gone into the drama side. So when that came to pictures, your reel,
Yes.
the rooms we got you into initially, because it's not rocket science what we do. Not to diminish representation,
Right.
It's all about connecting the dots,
Yes.
following through,
Yes.
and then you have to be incredibly walking that fine line of persistence and annoyance.
Yes.
It's if you don't think your manager is doing the job for you, you have not found the right person. Because I would crawl over glass for my clients.
I know you would. That's
Yeah.
why I love you and your bloody self so
Yes.
much. But I think to put a point on that, I think that a lot of people don't understand all the work that goes into it for the rep. And one of the things you said to me several years ago that I was like, perspective, and why I have Abbey on and why I'm going to bring people from other sides of the industry on is it's sort of like when you guys are waiting tables and you have somebody who's never been in the service industry in their life and they treat you poorly, but they just don't know. Like if they had waited a table for a day in their life, they would be much lovely to you. Yeah, they kill themselves. They would be way lovelier to you, but they just don't have the perspective. Right. And you had said to me, you know, we're talking about a day and you were like, yeah, you know, actors always talk about rejection. They get rejection maybe once or twice, however many times a week that they are going out, right? Right. And I get rejection like all day because I'm pitching people all day. So I'm pitching my clients out to people all day long and I'm getting a lot of no's. Right. I get a lot of yeses, but I get a lot of no's. And I was thinking like, oh, I never thought about that. Yeah. Like the rejection that you are taking in.
Well, I mean, the reason that we get 10% across the board is it's not only the amount of sweat equity that goes in. Like we could both do our jobs 100% correct. Yes. And there's nothing tangible for a while, right? So you're submitting, you're pitching. Plus, when you're dealing with clients, too, that are multi-hyphenates, because everybody wants to create their own stuff or do movies or endorsements, you have to read up on the latest deals, know the set precedents. I can't tell you the first 3 years of my career, not kidding, every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinners, and drinks were all set. Yes. I mean, that was one of the most grateful things I had when I was at New Wave. My boss, when I first walked in, I was 26 years old with all these managers that had been in the business for years. I had never been an assistant, anything. It was right out the gate. He said to every person, I want you all to each set up on 10 meetings apiece. And then I just started
continuing that. Yeah, and I have to say that to me is one thing that I really think is an asset for you is you are really strong with relationships.
Yeah. Well, and also because I think I actually like people. I mean, the older I get, it's me too diminishing, but I think people can feel that it's authentic and not disingenuous. Yes. And that's the one thing I want to say is a lot of actors will go, well, I'm schmoozing. I go, yeah, but it's one-sided. Yeah. Like if you schmooze,
be interested in them. Legitimately interested in them.
And also like know that, hey, maybe you can't get something from this person, but they'll understand the world that you're in. Yes. And the problem is now, especially with social media and people being at home more, and again, you know, I'm like Howard Hughes sometimes now. Right. People need people. And in this business, when it takes as long as it takes to get something done, like I always joke that it takes like this career is like trying to cook a steak by breathing on it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
That no matter what destination you get to, you're going to want to look back and go, remember all the fun times I had, the good people I was with? And it's not just like, oh, yeah, I hung out with that guy. He was kind of a dick, but he could help me in my career.
Yeah, I mean, check your intentions is a really important thing to think about. And that's what I tell people about their business administration of like the actual pursuit of whether it's representation or auditions or relationships. Check your intention. If all you're trying to get from that person is a job, people can tell that. But if you're like, I would like a job, but also like I'm interested in you and I'm interested in like a long-term relationship, and you're not trying to get a job from them today. You're trying to like establish a connection, also just being interested in people.
Well, also the more people that you have a connection with, you have a more bigger grab bag of different personalities for your acting career.
I think that's true.
But anyway, to get back to your original question, it's find the manager. Yeah. But in order, obviously the next question is, well, how do you find a manager? Yes. Headshots and reels. Now let's put it in two sides. Great. If I have one, I started a collection of shitty headshots.
I know.
Which was fantastic, by the way.
Other people's shitty headshots. You guys, we have to talk about headshots.
Yes. If I hear one more person say, my friend can take my pictures, unless your friend is Dana Patrick or somebody like that.
That's right.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
We've never met, but I've sent like 100 people to you. Unless it's a professional photographer, this is the first thing people are seeing of yours.
And I just want you guys to, I say it all the time on this podcast, I just want to reiterate it. Be a professional. It's like I had this friend of mine, hey Dylan, what's up, who calls me one day and he actually got like good headshots for himself on the first go. And I was like, wow, I'm really impressed, right? And so he calls me, was like, hey, I saw you liked my headshots. Can you help me get into an agency for pilot season? And I was like, hold up. And I said to him, you know what you're like right now? You're like a guy who just came out of like a sushi chef program and you've got 2 decent pictures of sushi. Right. And I'm like, do you have any sushi for me to taste? Right. And you're like, no.
Right.
And I'm like, well, have you trained with any of the top sushi chefs ever? And you're like,
Right.
I've taken some sushi classes.
Right.
And I'm like, well, cool, but if you want an investor in your sushi restaurant,
Right.
you have to give me some samples, or you have to come with some credentials that let me know that you're hella skilled.
Because the manager and agent's reputation,
Yes.
you guys can have a reel or a headshot or a body of work to point to. Our reputation, 90% of our job is relationships.
That's right. And continually bringing people into their
Yes.
room
I now
that are
get-
of quality.
Yeah, I know. So I have such a small roster now.
Right.
I literally get incoming emails from like the top casting saying, I'm starting on this huge project.
Yes.
Please send me who you have. I know, blah, 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 blah. Are they available?
Mm-hmm. But wait, Abby. Wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
All right, so this email comes to us from a friend of mine. This person says, as a working actor who's looking to level up in the new year, would you recommend only using clips that demonstrate one's truest acting ability and ability to lead as seen in their demo reel, even if much of their recent work has been smaller roles in big projects? A friend recommended that I only use footage that is in line with my goals and moving into guest star and series regular territory, but ultimately ended up using a mix of both. What are your thoughts on this and how to level up in general? I just love this question, you guys. As you know, I have been updating my reel with footage that I've created every 6 months for the last 8 years. So I really am a firm believer in footage that demonstrates the whole of your acting ability and also is in alignment with your casting, and that's in alignment with your headshots, and that's in alignment with your relationships, both in casting directors and representation. So this person in particular, I know that they've been around the block for a while in the acting business, and I know they have lots of relationships. So I recommend in the beginning first 2 clips, if you don't have footage that shows that you can really act and that's where you're trying to go, I do recommend getting that footage and having it in the beginning of your reel. It is important for it to look as professional as humanly possible. I mean, spend money, you guys, and really make sure that it raises your reel up and doesn't take your reel down a notch. But if you are looking to amp yourself up as a person who's qualified for larger roles, you need to look like you've already done those roles. That's what I recommend. This person already has plenty of credits on their resume, so nobody's going to know what's from what. So I just recommend you do that. If you are a person who is looking to get some co-star credits, I do then recommend that you have some clips that really just show I can be a waiter, I can be a barista, I can be a yoga instructor, things like that are sort of stereotypical and one-liner sorts of things. But the co-star to guest star world is real, and the guest star to series regular world is real, and I think you have to have footage that demonstrates that you can do it. So good luck, get that footage, take it very seriously, and get really incredible footage. And know that it may take a couple times and it's going to be expensive, but it's worth it because the amount of investment you're going to put into a really solid 1 or 2 clips for guest stars, that's going to more than pay for itself once you actually get the guest star. And a really great example of this is that I had wanted to get into shows like Casual last year. In January, this time last year, I shot some footage for myself in the vein of Casual. I wrote it, I set all the props, I did the whole thing. And a week after me putting it up, I got an audition for a recurring guest star on Casual. So it does work. You have to be specific and execute it correctly. All right, good luck.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's go back to the headshots. So headshots, real.
Real.
It's well, I don't have any credits. First off, with the amount of technology we have nowadays, you can shoot your own stuff.
It's just unacceptable not to have footage, first of all. Mm-hmm. And then it's unacceptable not to have incredible footage. So let me talk about...
Don't do a student film.
Don't do student film, and don't shoot terrible stuff. I've had several people who've reached out to me in these last several months since doing the podcast who are just letting me know that they shoot reels, and they have asked me to watch their stuff and promote it forward. And I have had to communicate to them my impossibly high standards.
Right.
And here's what I want from somebody. So if this is your company, call me and send me your stuff, because I will send you people. I want you guys to spend multiple thousands of dollars on quality footage. I want you to hire a wardrobe person who's an artist, not your friend who likes to put people in clothes. I want you to hire a makeup and hair artist and a stylist who it's their art form, not your friend who works at Mac department for a year. I want you to hire professional sound people who work on professional sound things as recording and editing, sound editing artists. I want you to hire art department so that when you're like, it shoots in a school, it looks like it's a school.
Well, and also, like, if you're at that point now, it's kind of a two-hander, right?
Right.
I say, like, if you need a reel and also you're not getting into rooms or you're not booking jobs.
Yes.
We live in a world now where you make your own stuff and you have platforms to now Field of Dreams it. They will come.
Yeah. And I just say to that, check your intention. If you are just kind of bored and you feel like you're spinning your wheels, and so you're just going to like make some weird shit because you're bored, like that's just another version of spinning your wheels. It may turn into something if you're passionate and the kind of person who really has some focus and drive behind it.
Right.
But if you're a person who's like, I'm already doing comedy writing, I'm doing it in this, I'm going to start putting it together and start shooting it. You'll get better and better at it. But let me tell you guys, it costs money to do it really well. There's a reason why production budgets are really high. If you're a phase 1 actor, just get some footage. That's fine to go to these real places, get some footage, but know you're going to get the reps that are of the quality that your footage is of usually. If you're in that phase 2 actor zone, which a lot of you guys are, and you're trying to bump it up a notch, you need to go get some footage that bumps you up. And that's going to take money and artistry. And an understanding of your casting, and maybe doing it 1 or 2 or 3 times to get better and better at it as far as your brand is concerned. Right. And let's just be clear, Abbey is not seeking clients. Let me just say that as boldly as possible. Everyone's always like, hey, what about your manager? And I'm like, hey, she doesn't take anyone. Thanks.
I was like, I love actors.
Right.
I will put you in a direction. But
I know. Well, you have a small list that you focus on because
small.
you also have this other job that you have, and doing the two, you want to give both the attention that they deserve. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And your manager's job is to kind of be your shield.
Yes.
The talent should always be considered like everyone loves them, and then we're the assholes.
Yes.
That is my job.
Yeah.
It's like,
which she loves to do,
yeah,
guys.
I do.
But that's why I personally recommend, if you're going to be juggling between your commercial career and your theatrical career, and that's something that is going to be an actual juggle, and you need somebody to move an appointment or move a fitting or something like that. And even if you're not in that place right now, I want you guys to think bigger.
Well, and also here's another part of that equation too, is if your manager gets you the commercial agent, it's not even a question. They absolutely get that commission.
Absolutely, I would say that.
That's on residuals. Even after let's say you and your manager split and you book a movie, you still are supposed to and legally supposed to send the residuals.
That's right.
Through the entire, till the end of that run.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with me on Godless, is the agency that got us that opportunity that we were with at that time, they shut down.
Right.
And I still had to send them a heavy check.
Right.
And that was hard for me.
Right.
But I did
they still exist, but it shut down because the person that left.
Right.
We, in essence,
took everyone.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Took everyone with them. So the agency was still open.
Yep.
And I had to part with some cash that I would rather not have parted with.
Right. Whenever you sign with a rep, you need to discuss expectations.
Good.
When I sign clients now, I say my job is to get you the job. We can talk a couple times a week. I'm not the girl that's going to go to dinners and drinks and lunches with you all the time, because I can use that time to be with the producer, casting director, or submitting or catching up on my life too. And I'm also not going to be the manager that goes and visits you on set every day.
Yes.
Because I don't make you come to my job and go, you're a great manager. I know you're great.
Right.
So.
But that's you. And some other people will do that.
Well, no, I'm saying is that's why you need to say, like.
Yes.
Like you say to me, like I had a client say, I need to have dinner with you at least once a month. I want a weekly talent report. And then I want to get as much feedback as possible. So for me, you're setting up the expectation. So then if it's not working,
Yes.
neither side can be resentful.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't deliver on my end. Go with God. I get it.
And so I also want to say that really to me is for a phase 2, phase 3 actor. When you're coming in at phase 1 and you have like no reps and you have no credits.
Yeah, if you do that where you're like, I need this, and this, they won't sign you.
Then you're a pain in the ass.
Yeah, good
right?
point.
So
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on that.
That's 2 and 3.
Right. That's for phase 2, phase
Money
3.
talks.
Yeah, exactly. You've repped lots of phase 3 actors.
Yes.
But let's say that they're signing with somebody new. Let's say that they are with Abrams, who got them some series. And Abrams is like, I want to set you up with blah, blah, blah manager.
They need to, look at the roster to make sure they don't have too many people that compete with them on that roster. If
Great.
you're competing on a roster,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Yes.
They need to look at the company as a whole because at that point, you want to make sure you're not going to outgrow them. And they need to know everything.
And how do you know that?
Because you look at their actors, you look at their talent to see. Because if you like, there's some agencies where you see you're like, okay, they got a lot of co-stars, they maybe have some guest stars. But then if you look at like the Gershes, the ICMs, even Stoneman or Solners,
Yes.
they have a plethora of series regulars.
Yes, they do.
So if you're like, I need to get this, and I want these awards, and I want to work with this talent. And even when it comes to directors and writers, especially when you look at the bigger agencies, because they package.
Right. Am I going to be packaging with these people?
When you have a little bit of like, you
Clout.
know, thank you. Couldn't think of the word.
It's clout.
Is clout? Yeah. I'm in charge of your career.
I just like your career. You have lots of clout.
Why do I sound like Buffalo Bill?
We're building her clout, you guys. Put the lotion on the skin.
I got your dog, mister. Anyway, so it's you have to make sure that you're not going to outgrow them.
I love all that. And so now let's talk about, you've been with your manager for a while, you're growing, and you're going from phase 1 to phase 2, and then let's talk about phase 2 to phase 3.
This is where you start to have to be competitive with your other peers, and this is when you implement a publicist and a lawyer.
Okay, so that's phase 2 to phase 3.
Correct.
So let's talk about that.
First of all, the only time to activate a publicist, not for a guest star, not even a reoccurring per se. You should go for a big, sexy project. If it's a feature film, even if you're a smaller character, but you have a very pivotal scene. If you are
Memorable.
Say it again.
It's memorable.
Yes. If you're on a series, or if you have some kind of endorsement coming out. If you have
some heat on you, really.
Yeah,
like
there's
a real
book
heat.
and real legitimate, because it costs money.
It does.
And then a lawyer actually can come into any of the 3 phases, because let's say if in phase 1 you get a manager, you don't have an agent. In the state of California, legally they cannot negotiate the contract. Let's say if you book all of a sudden a guest star or a series regular out of the blue, God willing, your lawyer has to negotiate it.
But now phase 1 actors not likely going to get a lawyer of quality unless they're like born into the business or they have a connection already.
Their manager should have a good
person on
relationship.
hand.
Yeah.
Right. And even then, a lawyer really is only going to take you if they feel like there's an investment that's going to pay off, really.
To be rigorously honest.
Yes, tell me.
A lawyer is going to take 5% of your earnings that they negotiate. They will sign the world.
Oh, good. That's hilarious.
But that being said, if you notice, sometimes those really sexy lawyers won't put your name on their IMDb. But they will help.
Yeah, they'll take your money.
They'll take your money, but they're not necessarily going to say, yeah, I rep da-da-da-da. They're going to say all their top clients first.
So you're getting a lawyer, and what is the lawyer able to do and the publicist able to do that is different from what the agent and manager are doing?
So a lawyer, they already know the most recent set precedent at a studio or network. So they can say, you're giving my client $25,000. I know you just had another client of mine that had $25,000. You wanted them just as bad as this person. You got them to 40.
See.
So do we really need to dance around this? Can we just get to this?
And also they hopefully have relationships long-term with studios, with executives already. And some of them can get you those jobs also.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
one of my best friends now is the head of business affairs at NBC Universal. Mm-hmm. So it's like I can make the call really quick.
The money talk it's like an easy talk.
Yeah, and they can be very like transparent. Like, listen, you're gonna ask for this. We can go back and forth, but let's just cut to the chase.
And an example that I have of that is, so if you're number 10 on the call sheet, they're not going to give you number 10 more than they gave number 9 or number 8. But if the lawyer knows how much number 9 or number 8 got, then they can have some negotiation power as far as wheeling you up to the next level.
Right. And also, the more people that you have on your team that are higher caliber,
yes.
For instance,
the better it makes you look.
Well, also, I can be a bit of a pit bull.
Yeah.
And I might have pissed off X last month for a different client.
Right.
Having a different person circumvent that person just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that every agent and manager and lawyer and publicist has a reputation in this town, and everyone's got a couple people that maybe they've burned some bridges
If everyone
with.
likes you, you're doing your job wrong.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but the thing is nobody tells anybody because it's all everybody's like personal shit, right?
Yeah.
So nobody's like, oh, that fucking Abbey MacDonald, like she is the worst. And if they did, nobody would tell me. And I would sort of be like, oh, I guess I'm not sure. But that's why you have multiple people working an angle. Because even if they don't like working with my agent, maybe they like working with a manager or vice versa.
Right.
So there's somebody else for them to contact.
Right.
So let's talk about the financial decision then of having a big team. Just so you guys know. So let's say, just so it's an even number, you're making $100,000 a year.
10% goes to your manager, 10% goes to your agent, 5% goes to your lawyer.
And then X amount goes to your publicist, which is usually anywhere between like $2,000 to $5,000, right?
Well, depending on projects,
Yeah.
realistically, if you're working,
Right.
you'll have 1 3-month window.
Exactly. But that's still, so it's 3 months of $2,000 to $5,000, depending on what it is. And then if you're a woman, you're also going to need to pay for a stylist probably, so you don't look hella sad on all these events. And you are going to need to pay for some outfits, hair and makeup. All of that starts to become expensive. And that's part of why then having more people on your team becomes an investment, because you're sort of like, you guys have to earn your keep.
Yep.
So if I'm making $100,000 and you're already now taking 35% of my $100,000, I'm now walking with $65,000, which then I have to pay taxes. Now you guys can see why somebody making $100,000 then becomes like $50,000,
Right.
and $50,000 in Los Angeles is barely going to get you by for a year.
Right.
It's just barely going to get you by.
Right.
So that's where it becomes then they're costing you money, so they have to make the money that then they are really costing
Right, which
you.
is why I always say to spend money to make. If you want a real Hollywood
Absolutely.
career, you need a real Hollywood team. However, that is why it is so important that when you're picking all of your pieces,
Right.
that everyone's earning their keep.
I so agree with that.
Because I've had clients in the past where we've had to let agents go, and they're like, can you just be my manager agent? And I was like, to a certain point, but then I need another set of boots on the ground.
Yeah. And then let's talk about relationship-wise, going from phase 1, working your way to phase 3. So like when you and I first started working together, I'll just tell you guys a story. So we had met and were friends, and she had tried to get me in, and you were a little bit more low on the totem pole, and I was more low on the totem pole. I didn't have like any credits, I don't think.
No.
And you had been there for maybe 6 months.
Right.
And you had pitched me to the team because you had seen my work.
Yeah.
And they passed. And there was nothing you could do about it at that point.
Right.
So this is just a story to you guys about the relationships that you keep. I never said anything about it afterwards. You never said anything about it afterwards. We've loved each other ever since. And then one day, word got out that I was like, I just wish Abbey would like sign me. And you were like, wait, Audrey wants to work with me? Because I always thought that if Audrey wanted to work with me, she'd tell me.
Right.
And I was like, well, I always thought if Abbey wanted to work with me, she would tell me.
Right.
Which was lovely.
Right.
This is like 2 years later. Now I have a little bit more of a resume. I have a reel that's better.
Right.
And now you're also in a position with a company where you can have somebody come on.
Right. And I
who's
didn't have
not
to get
pulling
everyone
their
sign
weight.
off. Yeah.
That's right. So when you guys meet with somebody, even if they pass on you, I highly recommend continuing that relationship with professional understandability, and don't be a dick about it and be like, well, they're not passionate about me,
and also
blah, blah, blah,
because
right away.
like they may not be the best fit, and they'll go, oh, I have a friend that's a manager that you're better fit for it.
100%, or an agent or something, or maybe they go into producing. This happens all the time. The manager will go into producing, or the manager will go into an agency, and suddenly something frees up. And if now you've maybe got 2 or 3 credits and they've moved up into a different agency from manager, and now you can sign with them. So make a list as you're meeting all these people over the years. And if you're somebody who's now in a kind of a rut, like a phase 2 rut, think about all the people that you've met with in the past and reach out to them. You're a commodity.
I can't tell you how many people now that I'm executive producing a couple shows where I brought in ex-clients, people that I passed on, or friends of friends that I saw out.
That you know about. Great. But wait, Abby, wait. I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
Okay, so I have 2 things I learned about our union this week. Did you watch the SAG Awards? Everyone looks so great. So 2 really important things. One is I discovered that Plan 2, so there's Plan 1, which is the I make all the money in the world plan, and Plan 2, which is like I make a good amount of money, but I don't make all the money in the world, Plan 2. Plan 2 now covers mental health. So you can get therapy, you can get, I think, like rehab and stuff. Don't quote me on that. But I know that it covers mental health the same way Plan 1 used to cover it. That's through Beacon Health Options. I've been trying to put together an episode for SAG Pension and Health, and was asking around, calling some people up, and discovered that even though the website says that Plan 2 does not cover mental health, that in fact the plan was changed because the health plans merged right now. The AFTRA and SAG health plans merged for 2018. And so now it is more to qualify for Plan 2, like the amount of income you have to earn, but mental health is included. So if you are on Plan 2 and you need some therapy, go get it. The other thing I learned, as those of you who follow me on their Instagram know, Jesse and I were engaged, and we looked into the health insurance situation for getting married. And I just wanted to share with those of you that once you get married, you have 60 days to enact your now spouse on your health insurance. And it is effective on the plan that you're on immediately once you sign them up. So if you know somebody that you love who needs health insurance and you're like, we're getting married, just know you don't have to wait until like the next cycle or for you to qualify again. They're immediately enacted onto your plan once you file the paperwork and they receive it. You have 60 days to do so. So get married, get covered. Merca.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
How can an actor make your job easier? Don't be a dick.
Okay. All right, I'm going to rattle.
No, not you. That was to the actor.
Okay. I was like, well, let me list the ways. I'm going to list off a bunch of stuff before you ask the questions and I'll answer. So, amazing headshots.
Yes.
Reels.
Yes.
Always working on their craft. Learning how to memorize lines. Like every day you should be doing something. If I'm having to work for you every day.
Then I should work for me every day.
100%.
That's one of the things that you and I have our real communication about.
Yes.
Like people are always like, Audrey, I can't believe you self-tape yourself so much when you don't have auditions. And I'm like, bitch, what are you doing?
Right.
Like this is the Olympics.
Right.
Right?
So there's that.
And you're motivated too. I feel like when you see a client who's working hard
100%.
and not in like a crazy person way, but like in a like, I really am working for this.
When I know that we both know we're in this together.
Yes.
Like it feels like it's us against the world. When you feel like you're taking on their burden too, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
So I already feel pressure because I'm in charge of someone's, livelihood. But when you know that you're both doing the best you can,
yes,
that's all you can ask.
That's it.
So it's headshots, reels, them working on their craft, them networking.
Yes.
Them also remembering and being kind to everyone. Mm-hmm. And here's one that's going to drives me crazy.
Yes.
When I send a client in for an audition.
Yeah.
And I reach out for feedback, and I don't get any feedback back. And they keep asking me. And I'm like, or they'll say, do we hear anything back? I'm like, I'm not withholding information from you.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, oh, fuck, you booked the job. And
yes. And I also want to say to you guys, if you're phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like know where you're at. Because if you're phase 1, you've had one co-star audition in the last 3 months, and you're like up your manager's fucking butt about your feedback, calm down.
Because those phone calls that we're making for that,
right,
we can be using to pitch you in the future.
Not only that, it makes them look like an amateur.
Yes, she's super green. I will not call for co-star
No.
feedback. If it's a sexy guest star
Yeah.
or reoccurring series
Right.
reg, fine.
Right.
But usually, because again, my roster is so small now,
Mm-hmm.
but even before, I would very specifically reach out
Yeah.
on things that I knew were worth reaching out on.
And maybe it's a large co-star, which happens, you guys know, it's like 5 pages, but they call it a co-star. And maybe your manager has like a really special relationship with that person, but they know that and you don't know that. So let them do their jobs.
Yeah, so stop saying like feedback. Stop saying my friend went in for this thing.
Oh, because your friends are lying, BTW. I want you guys to know your
My
friends
friend
are
went
lying.
in for this thing. We're like, well, then you should go be with your friend's rep.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds cold and harsh.
No, you're right.
But again, if your manager isn't communicating with you
Yeah.
and they're not getting you out, like let's say if you're not getting out,
Yes.
usually my clients, I'll say right now they're going super diverse for your category right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's why I send a talent report.
Yes, I know you do.
It's like very
So
transparent.
let's talk about what the talent report is. A talent report is
You
for
go on
those of you-
breakdowns.
for all the submissions where you do your breakdowns, and you can print out an email. So you don't have to print them out because it's not 1984. You can email,
You copy and paste
copy and paste
Yeah.
the projects that your rep has submitted you on in the last X amount of time. And you can ask for that. It is your right to ask for that. And if your reps refuse to do that for you,
That means they're not submitting you.
or also don't be a dick and like do it every week. But like if you
Ask for
haven't
a
gone
month,
out,
even a month.
If you haven't gone out in like a month and you're like, hey, just want to see what's happening. Can I get my talent report so I can maybe see what I should be following up on?
Right.
Like they know what you're doing.
Right.
And they're your employees, so you should check up on them and
Yeah.
they should be held accountable.
Yeah.
But don't be a dick.
But don't, I will say the one time not to do that.
Yes.
Not to ask for dinners and drinks, not to call them,
Yes.
email them or text them instead,
Yeah.
is during fucking pilot season.
Oh, please.
And also, here's another one. If you've gone out for 10 auditions and you haven't booked,
Yeah.
and you say, can we sit down and strategize?
Oh, that's my
This is
favorite.
going to be my rebuttal. Here's the strategy. Book.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing my job, and you might be doing your job.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to go call someone and say, hey, can you make sure that you cast black and short
Yeah.
this time, or
Yeah,
black
right.
and tall, or
Right.
Asian?
Yeah.
It's out of our hands at that point.
Yeah.
And that's also wasted time. Because obviously we're both doing our job.
And I would say strategy wise, because I think you should come to your reps with a strategy. Like I have with you, we've really shifted some things. Like as we discovered, oh, Audrey books a lot of period work. But that's something that I'm like, just BTW, seems like I'm booking all the period work.
Yep.
And I say, I'm going to go get more period headshots for us for submissions.
Well, and also, like, here's the thing. If you don't book, we don't make money, right?
Right.
So I'm always looking at every strategy as I'm going anyway. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, I had a client that went out for a show.
Yeah.
I looked at the executive producer. I used to represent the executive producer. I called, and he said, oh, she's actually our choice. They didn't even test her. They made a series regular.
See.
So I'm always doing that, and your representative should always be doing that, because if they're not, they don't want to make money.
And let me ask you this. We've talked about this a little bit. When can somebody know, whether it's an agent or a manager, that they're not working for them? And I will start by saying, you guys, when you call me and you have meetings with agents or managers, and the whole time they're like, you're going to be a star. I'm going to get you in every single room, and you're going to have all these meetings. It's going to be amazing, and you're going to be a star. And you're like, I'm going to be a star. And then you call me, and you're like, I just met with this person. They're going to sign me, and it's amazing, and I'm going to be a star. And you're like, I have learned that that's always the way that it goes.
Well, also, that could be the intentions, and then they
It
get
is.
feedback.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, it's like dating. You
It
know
is.
6 months in.
Okay, 6 months in, how many auditions or things, if they've gotten 2 in the first 6 months?
I'm not going to give you a number.
Okay, good.
Because there could be a thing where they
It's a
have,
trend right now, or
yes, or it's slow in their category.
yes,
But they can at least see that their managers are pitching and blah, 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 blah.
yes,
Because, you know, there might be a time, like let's say if they sign in October through February, you can't really gauge that because the
Right.
business shuts down after Thanksgiving.
yes. Really, like 2 weeks before, like the week before Thanksgiving, and then and then it's the holidays, and
Everyone's
then it's
checked out.
Sundance. It's
Yeah.
gone. It's gone.
And no one's going to sign a new client right before the holidays.
Right.
If you're looking for a new agent, the prime real estate time is June through October, because that's when all pilots are done, recastings are done. They see, they do all their drop lists, and then they basically do their redrafting, quote unquote.
Every time.
Yes.
This is a big thing that a lot of people are having. So how much do social media and stuff count? And I want to preface this with, does it depend on the project, the network, and the person being cast?
So to fill all three buckets,
Great.
social media does play into part, and I can actually speak from personal experience.
I
So
know that you can.
we always want to go with the best person. Now I'm speaking from the producer side.
Right, you're a producer.
You always want to go with the best talent. However, with there being so many options of places to watch things now, like it's not just traditional networks, it's cable, it's over the top, it's YouTube now. You want to figure out the best built-in
Apple
marketing.
soon. Right.
Yeah, built-in marketing. So if you it came down to two guys. One guy was wicked funny. The other guy was fantastic. He had, I think it was 5 million followers on Instagram. The other person had 20,000. We went with the bigger name because we knew they could promote it. So
And
that does
I
play
just
into it.
have to say to you guys, of course, and anyone who's listening who thinks that's unfair, I want to just ask you, did you think that you were getting into the fair business?
Yeah, that's fair. They wouldn't have gone like with the skinny, blonde girl who's 20, supposed to be a mom of a 15-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, nothing about this business has ever been fair. And I know that like sucks when I say that to you. And I know like for a lot of you, you're going to have like a real fuck Audrey and her bullshit reaction to that. Because I know a lot of you are artists, and I understand you and I hear you. And I just want to say, like, you have to look at the actual game that you're playing.
But you know what? But think about it this way, though.
Yeah.
The reason people love doing plays, for instance, is you get immediate reaction, right?
Yes.
So social media is immediate reaction. So you can test your looks. You can test the branding. Like if you look on my social media, people joke about it, but I did it very consciously. It's work, cigars, LA Kings, Star Wars, and then shoes. People know my brand.
Yes, that's right.
So when it comes
She loves the Star Wars playing hockey,
do.
you guys.
I do. Oh my God.
That would be amazing.
If my husband ended up playing hockey and was in a Star Wars, like
That would be like the best
the
thing
best
ever.
thing ever.
That's right.
So it's literally, it's one of those things where you actually have the advantage because you can also start doing your own content,
Yes.
getting your own endorsement straight to you.
And not only that, I just want to also say to you guys who are grumpy about social media, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Just like you didn't have to, like in the 90s, you didn't have to be a beautiful woman. But if you weren't a beautiful woman, you weren't going to go out as much.
Right.
And things change.
Yeah.
Trends change. Now, like in 1998, you had to either be a size 2 or you had to be a size 22. And they would tell people when they got here, like, you either need to lose a lot of weight or you need to gain a lot of weight. Yeah. And now that's not true.
It's everybody's type.
It's everybody's type. And so it's just a trend that's going to last for a little bit. And you just have to know the trend will change. And if you don't want to play the trend, that's totally fine.
But social media and streaming and online,
yes,
that is the future. That is not going away.
Yeah, I would
100%.
It's just exposure. And as I keep telling you guys, you have to extrovert your work. You have to extrovert your product. And I remember learning that a long time ago. I had a friend of mine whose sister was producing a movie with Quentin Tarantino. He was like going to come over and like talk about a movie with her sister. And my friend was trying to like tell her sister about how great I was. And she came to me and she's like, we Googled you. We tried to find you, and I was telling them about how incredible you are, but she didn't care because there was no evidence of you existing out there. And that's what the game is.
Perception is reality.
Perception is
Plus,
reality.
social media, let's say like you are on social media here, but you don't do well here.
Yes.
You may hashtag something and a director in London will see it.
Anything is possible. And the more that you're putting yourself out there, the more likely it is that something's going to come back from you. And again, I say be authentic. I mean, one of the things they talk about with social media is, if you hate it, then you hate it. And like, don't do it. I don't know what to tell you. But if you can find something about it that you do enjoy, that's worth it. If like, even all you can do is like post pictures of your fucking animal, like post pictures of your fucking animal. Like a lot of people do that and get lots of followers from it. So find a way if you can that makes it work for you. Or if you can't, just know you may lose parts. But that's been true since like the business began.
Right. It's always something. There's always
something. Okay. Since you've worked at a big management company and then left to start your own boutique company, what do you think the advantages are and disadvantages are for actors choosing between the two?
In a perfect world, you would find a manager that's got a boutique mind in a big company. Because the reason agencies are so powerful is because they've got information. Information meaning you already have stuff in real time as far as like, hey, breakdown, say they're looking for this role, but we already know that they're doing this.
Yeah, or this thing is coming out because our writers got it going down. It's coming down the pike in 6 weeks.
Yeah, so we had writers and actors at the company I was at.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we would have a writer on a show. They would make a call, bring them in. Or we would know what was coming down the pipeline as far as being acquired to actually be greenlit. And then some of the managers would have a relationship with a casting director that I wouldn't, so we would make calls for each other. So I actually think I got the best of both worlds because coming from a big company, I got all those relationships.
You did.
And then now that I get to move away from it and I have really great talent, I still have those relationships. I can still reach out to any of those parties.
And that's really common. So when you guys are meeting with somebody, ask around and get some history. I mean, most of the top boutique agents did start out at
a
CAA
big agency,
and UTA, and they did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And they were junior agents or whatever they were, and that's how they were working it. And I just really want you guys to understand that your reps are human beings. And if they're at a company, they have quotas to hit. They basically have like a sales quota that they have to hit.
Well, I remember a client saying, I see you on the red carpet with this client a lot. I'm like, well, he or she's bringing me a lot of money in. So when you start bringing me money in, I'm like, he
there
or
for
she
you.
was going out all the time.
Right.
And he or she wasn't booking.
Yes.
So I was like, I can go with you to anything, but I have to allocate my time.
You have a quota that you had to fill, and you had somebody who was particularly filling that quota so that you could then spend time on some of this more development talent. You had permission
by the way,
to.
before you had booked your stuff, that's why I was
That's
allowed
right.
to sign you at that point.
That is absolutely correct.
So before that, I was like trying to justify. And at that point, there was so much money coming in from he or she.
Yes.
I was like, I'm going to sign, Chucky the Clown if I want to.
That's
like
right.
Literally.
Chucky would make you a lot of money.
Totally.
Though. Let's be real.
Yeah.
What do you notice now as a person who's on the production side? I know that you watch auditions. I know that you're in the editing room. I know you're reading scripts. What do you notice from that side that you can tell me about that actors should know?
The biggest spotlight that I've seen is why casting directors are so cranky. Because managers and agents and talent need to look at the breakdowns and they go, but I know they want this, but I know I can do this. When someone is brought in for a role that they are not right for, it's a little irritating. But if they're good, it's redeeming. And it may change our perception of the role.
Yes.
But nothing has been more eye-opening than to see someone not right and to come in, not only be unprepared, but shitty and then rude.
Yes.
That has been one thing where I'm like, you're wasting our time.
And your dick.
And that's why, casting, it's inundated. And casting's reputation is on that. So I'm like, I look at our casting director, I'm like, this is not on you, but next time that manager calls, don't take that call.
And listen, everyone has bad days. But I think the important part of what you said is that then you're a dick.
Yeah.
Like when you act like you're too good for the project, or you have a chip on your shoulder that you're not right for it,
Right.
or whatever it is, and then you go in and you bomb, and then you're like, fuck this room, and fuck auditions, and fuck this system. Now that manager has lost a casting director relationship.
Yep.
On you.
Yep. There's that. And then also when you go to set and you've booked the job, you need to come prepared. And also you need to come prepared that anything can be thrown at you.
Yes.
So you need to learn how to learn. Like, for instance, sometimes, especially on a sitcom, you're rewriting on the fly because I'm like, that joke didn't hit. Try this line. That is why memorization and improv is so important. Whether you're dramatic or comedic.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, even if you don't think you're funny, because it's not about that, you have to take improv classes. You have
and
to.
also, if you're comedic and you're quick, it helps on your relationships and being on set, and you can integrate with a bunch of different people.
Yeah, because then everyone thinks you're cool too.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's just like this person. And then as far as the memorization is concerned, you guys have to learn sides every day until you know that it's easy and it's fast. Because I promise you, if you can't be ready for the big auditions, you won't get them.
Right.
And so if you want to be, we talk all the time about leveling up your career. If you want to be leveling up from phase 1 to phase 2, you better be learning phase 2 sides on the regular so that when those auditions come, you're in the position to book. It's like you don't run the marathon at the like regional level and not prepare to win it at the Olympic level. Right. Like you would go from one to the next to the next, and you'd be training all the way up.
It's like, because if I can comfortably say,
yes,
when you're going in for J.J. Abrams or you're going in for Ryan Murphy, I'm like, oh, I'll call them because I know that she's right for it. Like I had another client that was up for a Scorsese thing. Mm-hmm. I made the call.
Yes.
Because
But you feel comfortable doing that, knowing that they're prepared. You want to give your reps...
I did it once when somebody wasn't prepared and they got let go.
You want to be constantly giving your reps the evidence that you are ready.
Because even if you don't book, I always get good feedback for you or for somebody else that's on my roster.
Girl, I know my feedback's good.
Like literally, now it's going to be like, oh, she's penned.
Yes.
She's on a bail. Or love her, we'll think of her for something else.
We can't do it for her next time. But I had to really grow my skills as my rooms grew.
There it is, the accountability.
Yeah, I had a lot of accountability, but I always have. And I don't expect miracles from other people.
And stop pointing the finger at everyone else and say, okay, obviously the whole world can't be wrong. Look where my best thinking has gotten me.
And here's what I would say creatively too, that is something I heard recently and I thought it was so great, was at a certain point, you can't be competing with other people. You have to start competing with yourself.
100%.
And I was like, oh, that's so good. Because
is that on Instagram?
No, I saw it on a TV show. But I hadn't heard that before. And I thought that was so smart because as you guys will get into the business more and more, you'll start seeing that, yes, whether or not you get a part really doesn't have to do with how good you are when you get to a level. Everyone's good.
Right.
And so it's about you doing your best work for you and you being excited about your work for you.
Right.
And then the parts will follow, the relationships will follow, and you'll have a reputation that follows that.
Right.
But you can't compete with that actor because they're selling something different.
Right.
And what they sell is interesting in the part and what you sell is interesting in the part. And it's just about what that storyteller wants to say.
And if you start comparing and contrasting yourself to other people, that's where the depression...
It's death. It's total death creatively. But wait, Abby. Wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
So we got a lot of listener questions this last week because you guys are fired up for 2018. And this is a response to the question I answered last week where the person said they'd been here for 18 months. They finally got a manager and then they aren't getting auditions. And I sort of was like, that's correct. That wasn't a particularly satisfying answer to this person, as I'm not super surprised. So I just wanted to go ahead and read you what they had sent to me, and we're going to clarify. Okay. So this person says, I really appreciate your perspective and the idea that this is a long game and you've got to be happy and find joy in the process. I get it. I really do. I think my issue is that I don't understand what the next step is to actually get in the room. I know it's a numbers game and that the longer you're here, the better your chances. And if the right thing is to just enjoy my life here, which is great weather, all that stuff, and just trust that over time I'll start being called in, then I'm okay with that. It just feels really passive to me. Like if I were auditioning but not booking, I would be working on my acting skills to fix the issue. I think I was so focused on getting representation that I didn't consider what my next step would be if no auditions came as a result of it. Even if a couple were given to me, I would feel like I'm on the right path, but none feels like clearly there's a problem and I should be working on it. That's right. That's right. I mean, I just want to give you some perspective just to help you out because I know that this is really frustrating. You know, most people don't really start to actually book a job until they've been here for like 2 to 3 years. That's usually like, if you're on the right path, it's like a 2 to 3 year thing. And I know right now you're like, well, I have representation, but I don't have auditions. To be very frank with you, nobody cares about you. And the long road to getting people to care about you is very challenging. And that's why people who are sort of second generation or whatever, they have connections already where people know them and care about who they are, they have a leg up in this town. And I know it's very shocking to a lot of people who move here and they feel like, I got my SAG card, I've got a couple of credits, and now I got representation, and now people are going to be interested. And that's just really not true. And the question it seems like you're really asking me is, how do I get more auditions? And that is the great question of the universe of Hollywood and this business. It's tough out there. And the way that you get auditions now is tricky because there used to be workshops, and then casting directors would get to see you, and then they would call your representation and ask for you to come in, and then your representation would all take complete credit for it. Like, I submitted you and I pitched you on this thing, and this is like all the great work I've done, when really like you went to the workshop and you crushed it, and then the casting director called you in. But now workshops are gone. And so that's something that everyone in town is really struggling with. How do you get seen now? And the reason why workshops came about was because getting seen was really hard. And cast directors don't have time to go and see all of the talent they want to see. And they want to see new talent. But, you know, they're crunched and they're not honestly getting paid enough to go and spend their free time just willy-nilly looking for new talent. So the representation that you have is probably a reflection of what you're qualified for. And by qualified, I don't mean your talent. I mean where you are in this business on the rung of this business. And I just want you to know that just gets better with time. As you get more credits and more footage, you get better representation. As you get better representation, you get more credits and more footage. And what I recommend for you to do in the meantime is just network the level you're at. I mean, the best advice I got when I was coming to this business professionally was that's like, you're on a level with a group of people that are all on the same level, and your level just rises through the ranks as time continues. And I have seen that happen. Half of the people that I used to work at restaurants with, I mean, so many of them are on series now, or they are showrunners, or they're writers. And who could have known that, like, that little host or that little hostess or that little server is now somebody who's like running a network. I mean, my manager, the one that you're listening to right now, she was working at Bugden&nbsp with her sisters at Universal City. And now she is my kick-ass manager, and she is, you know, running a network. It just happens. And I know that that is not a satisfying answer, because what you want from me is for me to tell you how you get auditions is you do A, B, C, and D. And you know the ways to get auditions. You submit yourself on casting notices. You perform live maybe and have people see you, but it's a long road. And I want you to know I was here for 2.5 years before I booked my first commercial. I didn't get my first television credit. Are you ready for this? I was here for 8 years until I got my first television credit. 8 years, you guys. Bridget, who I interviewed in episode 2, she tried to get reps. 7 years it took her to get an agent. And now she's working all the time. It's just those first 5 to 10 years are really slow goes, you guys. I want to just make really clear that my main impetus for doing this podcast is to be transparent with you guys in that, because there's this magical idea that you land here and then you and your talent are just innately of value to people. And because you get representation and because you have a few credits, that is going to equal a bunch of opportunities and work for you. And it's that idea that then makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. And you're not doing anything wrong. You're working very properly. You've got a lot of really great opportunities happening. And that's why I do this podcast, is because I'm just so tired of actors feeling like they are making mistakes and they're going down the wrong path because it's not easy and fast in the way that publicity has tried to tell you that it is for so long. The people who have a lot of success in their 20s have mostly been doing it since they were 8. That's just like how that is. There are a couple exceptions to those rules, but there are always exceptions, and I want you to hope to be the exception but be excited for the process in case you're not. So all my love to you. Hope that's helpful. Maybe not, but it's true. All right. Hope you're on your way to an audition now and that all that was for nothing because you're just like slammed with auditions.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
5 questions. You
Great.
can plug yourself on social media.
You can follow me at Abbey Max10. It's ABBEY like Abbey Road, MACS, the number 10.
Why managing?
Because I was a singer for a lot of years, and I noticed that I always got off on the business the most, and no one ever fought for me and my sisters, because we were in a group together, ever fought for us like I did. And I realized that when I started helping a friend out, nothing made me feel more justification, and it fulfilled that artist in me to help them, because I like helping people.
I know you do.
And also I have an ego still, because I'm an artist, that when one of my clients hits, I'm like, told you I was right.
Yeah, I will say to people, I'm always trying to communicate to you guys that there is an artistry to the business side, just like there is an artistry to the acting side. And once you guys get that, I'm telling you, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And what you just said makes so much sense to me, but I know for those of people who haven't experienced it, it's really incredible. When you can love the artistry of the business side as much as you love the acting side, it's just really
nothing
delicious.
makes me feel better and sexier than when I close a deal.
Ah, me too.
I love it.
Me too.
We're always
like, yay, we're so great.
Especially when you also are, when there's these new deals, like new media deals and over the top, and you can be creative on deals.
Cool.
And you're breaking precedents. That's almost like, writing a new storyline.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing.
What is the best part about this business for you?
The best part in this business is that one day you can be waiting tables, the next day you can be a star.
I love it.
And it is a club that not only actors, writers, directors want to be in, everybody wants to be part of the club. That's why those weeklies and tabloids are also popular, right? It's that you get to live in a fantasy world. Live in a fantasy world, and you get to be surrounded by people that are creative and open like you are.
Yeah, I love
for the
that.
most part.
Yeah.
Especially in Los Angeles.
There's some bigots, but
A little bit. But I would say it's the living the dream thing is actually, it's a real quote. My mom said, make sure you dream even when you're awake.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem with. I'm always dreaming.
Yeah.
For better, for worse.
Yeah, and there's no ceiling for our business.
I love that.
There's no ceiling. Like, I could, when I started out in this business, I was making $2,000 a month.
Yes.
And nobody would answer my calls. And now I'm getting incoming calls from some pretty amazing people, and I'm executive producing a couple of shows.
And you're just getting, I think, like, you're just really getting in.
I'm very happy.
You know what I
I've been
mean?
very lucky, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're just, like, settling in. Like,
Yeah, I'm very
where
comfortable in my
that's
skin now. I'm like,
Yeah.
either get on board or you don't.
Yeah.
And also, I like the fact I'm a little irreverent, and I can be that way in this business. To a point, not inappropriate. I know we're in a very interesting time right now.
Yes, that's right.
But no, it's there's no limit. You can always break barriers.
Yeah, I love that too. What is the worst part about this business for you?
People are very, I'm a giver, and people like to take. People are very phony. And but now being in this long, you can just read it across the room. But I think a lot of it has to do with vanity.
Well, the thing is about Hollywood is, and I call people out on this all the time when they're like talking about like being serious artists. I'm like, you're in Hollywood. Like, if you wanted to be like a serious artist, you would be at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. It's like 10 months out of the year over there, and you would do the new plays, and you would do the great works of art of all time, and you would do that. But you came to H-Wood, and it's because like you're a little bit vain.
Well, I mean, that's why, like, listen, if I didn't have my position, I wouldn't have the car that I have.
Right.
Like, my favorite car.
Yes.
All kidding. I fucking love the Nissan Cube. I have to drive a Mercedes.
Yes.
So if you roll, people are like, "Oh, she's successful." It's like, it's that. It's the clothes. It's the shoes you wear.
It's an image, and
so that's the part I don't like.
Also, some people don't partake in that image, but that's then their image. So just so you guys know, like, when you make every choice you make or don't make reflects upon you. And so if you decide that you're gonna like drive the beat up Honda, that then says something about you, and maybe that's part of your thing.
Right.
What do you wish somebody had told you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
All the decisions of why people said no to you are not because you weren't talented. And whatever your intuition and gut tells you, never stray from that.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I did a couple of times. And I've learned when I don't go with my gut, I'm always wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
And also, like, I mean, not even only in this business, but in my 20s, don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about you. If you're happy and you're a good person, someone doesn't like your hair or your body or your perception on be you 100% and have no apologies for it. Because that's how I've gotten this way. I have a reputation for I'm very blunt.
I know, but
I like that about myself.
part of what happens is people always ask me about like, how do I get good reps? And I say like, I don't know, like it's a fucking madhouse out there. But when I tell them about where I feel like I lucked out in our relationship, as I said, we have the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
We have the same sense of style as far as work ethic and getting things done is concerned.
But also, I knew that you knew you were a star, and people want somebody
that knows that. How that really translates to me, relationship-wise, is then the casting directors that you're friends with, the agents that you're friends with, the publicists that you're friends with, the lawyers that you're friends, that you're friends with, that then I team up with or start working with. We are all of the same elk because they're your friend.
Right.
And if it was the opposite and you were the talent and I was the manager, it would be the same.
Right.
It would be the same people. And that is part of what's special about a long-term, genuine relationship with your reps, you guys.
Yeah.
That I wish for everyone. Before we get to mildly interesting, I just want to talk about me for 1 second and just say, is because a lot of people listening have known me for a long time and have watched my career grow. Can you tell them what it is about the way I've worked or started out or continued to work that you feel like has made a difference in my career growth and building?
I feel like because you work every day, it's something you always read scripts.
I do.
Whether it's you're going in for it or not. You know your casting. You are always talking about it. You're always working on your look, changing. You're always updating your headshots and everything. You're always in the current and the know of all the business. So that justifies your decisions on you as a product. So I felt like the more
I learned,
and also just the more that you went in and you were like, okay, so I do know that I'm a good actress. I think the confidence immediately was there. It just went up. And then you were also very warm. As soon as you walked in the room, you were like, well, you guys are lucky to have me, so this is going to be super fun. And that's
but not in an arrogant way.
No, it's like you were like, okay, so I obviously deserve to be here, but like, how are you? And like, you'll joke around with them.
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested in them.
Yeah,
genuinely.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, thank you for that. But I just want,
and the look has evolved too.
The look has definitely evolved.
Like
well,
you
have to find
more
it.
Character, and now it's like you can kind of be a little more malleable as far as like leading lady, quirky to girlfriend to wife. To period. Like you can kind of change it up.
Well, and some of that has had to come with like sacrifices I had made. I mean, being weirder looking was better for commercials.
Right.
And I had to sacrifice some commercial booking for some theatrical momentum.
But that's the strategy, right? It's the big picture.
That's the big picture, and it's the constantly being educated. And I will just say about that, like she's not blowing smoke up my ass. When we've met with agents, you and I, she has gone in and said to them before we get there, like, just so you know, like, Audrey knows her shit, so you can't like tell her lies. Like Audrey read more pilots than you did. She knows who's casting what. She's got all the relationships. Like you have to be real with her because she already knows.
Yeah, I'm like, and both of us do.
Yeah, both of us do. So, right. We're not gonna.
We're not gonna try.
Yeah, you can try.
Next.
Right, but next, which is good and great. We do mildly interesting to end.
Read the book Top of the Rock by Warren Littlefield. It's my go-to book.
Yes.
Warren Littlefield ran NBC during the must-see TV days, bought everything from Seinfeld to Cheers, Will and Grace to Friends, ER. He now owns his own production company and does the show Handmaid's Tale and also Fargo.
Little known his.
He's like kind of a mentor. So read that book. Watch as much as you possibly can on Netflix, and also watch outside of the business too. Like I love Chef's Table. I'm actually going on a vacation next week and going to the Michelin star restaurant in Finland.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm going to stay in an igloo. And also, when you can, like, travel, get out of it, because when you have perspective on this business, it gives you so much.
Better.
So
much better.
That's mildly interesting for me.
Great. My mildly interesting. Here's what I recommend you guys. When you're like, Audrey, what do I do? I really want to impress upon you intention and what you focus on expands. And I'm telling you, when Fall Episodic started, I went to like tvguide.com and I made a list that is sitting here next to me that Abby can see of all of the fall shows that I thought I could be on. It's right up there on my board. And I watched every single show, some of them more than others, but definitely watched every pilot. I watched them online, and the week that I did that, I got an audition for a really great guest star and I booked it. And it's just your way of saying, like, I want to work in television. Then you put your focus on television, and I can just tell you from experience, it's just like magic. And it's weird, but it happens. And suddenly your agent, who hasn't called you in for a while, is like, I have an audition for you for Scandal for a top of show guest star. And you're like, great, haven't heard from you for 3 months. But it's because you focused on something.
But not the right agent.
Right, exactly.
Call back.
It really works for me, and I have noticed it really works for my friends. And so that's what I recommend.
It works on my end too when I say, let's put it out there this week.
Yeah, and then we do.
Does too every time. Yeah,
you were like, let's get you a Netflix series, and then we did.
Yeah,
that was good. Awesome. Well, Abby, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I gave some kind of information.
You were so
and wasn't
great.
Rattled everywhere.
No, I think that it was so great, and I think people just need to hear from your side as often as possible.
And if they do have questions that they do want to ask,
don't tell them. If you do have questions that you want to ask Abby, don't contact her. Email me at audreyhelpsactors@gmail.com. I go through them about once a week, and then I will put them on the show, and I will ask her for you about them. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yay.
Have a great one.
Bye. Thanks.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we are talking actor taxes. If that sounds boring to you, then you especially should listen. We're having 2 accountants on. We're going to have an accountant who handles personal taxes and one who handles corporate taxes. As you know, the tax bill is being put into motion by our government, and that directly affects the way actors can write off certain deductions. And so we're going to talk about the pros and cons of that, and I think it's going to be very valuable. We're all such nerds, you guys. Everyone is really excited about the tax episode. So if you want to save some money, if you want to know what you're doing and get ahead of all the myths and rumors, then this is the episode for you. We have 2 accountants from Chuck Sloan, which is an actor accountant agency. I recommend them on the Audrey Helps Actors recommendations website. So I'm very excited. Actor taxes. I'm not going to lie, you guys. I love doing my taxes. Love it. Special thanks today to Abbey MacDonald. Oh, you are just like the love of my life. I love you. I love you so much. If you guys can get a great rep out there who loves you and who's passionate and who understands story and who understands the way both sides work, then you're really, you're blessed. And that's what I wish for all of you. May you all be so blessed to have such a great person in your corner. And I hope you learned something. So thank you, Abby, for your time, your continual generosity, your fierce work ethic, and your giant heart. This show is produced and edited by Jesse Lumen. Oh, he's so handsome. Special thanks to Thomas Snodgrass for the mic assistance here and there. He's so generous with his mic. It's good to have your sound guy across the street, you guys. And thanks to Aalok Mehta for some help with the theme song. Music this week and every week by Ari De Niro. And most importantly, don't forget your towel.